So that moment there is obviously very important, because it's like, yeah, there's a part of it which is, you know, utilitarian, but there's also another part of it which is a part of a seduction, you know, which a very like slow and subtle seduction that is meant for.
Can anybody hear me? Get me out of here! Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Doing well. Happy to talk to you. Spoke to Kate and Scott earlier.
Oh, you did, great.
Have a lot of fun questions for you. First of all, this movie blew my damn mind. You know, it takes a special individual to come up with so many twists and turns and crazy things in their mind. So I give you credit for that. But
Thank you. Yeah.
also, I must know, I have a feeling you're a big horror fan, because I
Oh
saw
yeah.
so many films kind of molded in here and inspirations from I'll tell you one thing. One of the chilliest movies I've ever seen was Ari Aster's Midsommar, and I
Yeah.
felt like this movie had a lot of elements that you took from it.
Yeah.
In the daytime, so daytime is very chilling, by the way, if you know how to shoot well and make it happen. So
I know.
I'm curious, what were some of your inspirations when you're working on it? Because this film's very imaginative, very psychological. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Great. Inspirations. Well, I think I mean there's cinematic inspirations, and then there's like artistic inspirations as well.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like the desert is a huge inspiration, you know, like the fear you get in the desert and the vulnerability you get in the desert. That was a big inspiration. But then cinematically, actually, like a lot of the films I was drawing from were actually like films from the 70s, especially like 70s Australian. There was like a,
Mm.
a period where they were making these films then, which were very like, again, like Australia in the outback is like, it's pretty barren and it's pretty desolate, and you're very much up against nature in that when you're in that situation. And films like Walkabout, Nicholas Roeg's Walkabout, Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock, Wake in Fright was another one, where these films, which are just like really kind of, yeah, taking somebody out of their life and then putting them in some very intense position, and seeing what happens, basically, you know. So, but you know, that's, you know, and also oh God, so many films as well. Because I mean, I think it's my first film, so I think that's a thing which happens. You know, you get like, you've just got this brimming with like things you've seen, and they just all seep into the film, basically.
You know, I spoke to Kate and Scott about this too. The way you create like these characters and the chilliness factor, because like you would imagine Kate's character would usually be someone very like kind of like wilderness person, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
someone
yeah,
that's away from society, that
yeah,
maybe is a mute or doesn't speak, like just
yeah.
very odd. But she was so normal, which made it so much more freakier, because you would
Yeah,
think someone this isolated would be sort of
yeah,
socially unaware or incapable of communication, but she's so normal. And that's what weirds you out as a viewer. Talk about that, because I thought that was such an interesting choice. And it
yeah,
made it twice more interesting, and like, as a viewer, I'm wondering, like, wow, what is her background and why is she there even
yeah,
more?
yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I'd say like I have to like give Kate credit there as well. It's just like so much her, you know. She is very you know, I mean, the one thing that I saw when I first interviewed her was this, the general kind of slightly unknowable, mysterious quality that she has to her as a person anyway. And kind of always wondering, you know, what does she really think of the script? You know, what does she really think of this scene? Because she's very kind of like this. So that immediately was very interesting to me. But then, like, in terms of like how she played it, like we were, you know, we discussed like how far she should take it. It just felt like more natural for her to be, as you've described, like somebody who could potentially fit a little bit, you know, in there. She has her quirks and weirdness,
Sure.
but yeah, and also I think it just made it more like confusing for Scott's character, because like he's there and he's with this woman, and you know, he wants to get the hell out of there, but at the same time, like, you know, he's intrigued by her, and you know, and there is obviously some kind of level of chemistry there. And I think it just played into that, because I always wanted this part of the storyline where there's a point in the middle of the film where, you know, you don't really know what either is thinking in terms of like whether actually there is some real chemistry there, you know, like in the real world, with these two like hit it off, you know what I mean? Just like,
Right.
so I think having her a little bit more on the, you know, a little bit more relatable, I think it just kind of like helped that feeling as well. You know, it'd be harder to achieve that if she was just like this wild kind of feral beast, you know.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, it just like I was always like making an effort in the writing just to root it in some level of reality, and just like because I just think that if you like push like horror and lean into reality, then it does ultimately makes things a lot more chilling.
And I spoke to her also about the scenes where she's naked and washing herself with the cloth, which I thought was the most mesmerizing and creepy in a way, but also alluring. So
Yeah.
I put myself in like the Scott's characters here position. It's like you would be intrigued, but also kind of, is she playing this on? Is she putting on a show? Are you kind of being, you know, kind of a peeping Tom in a sense? I thought it was just such a alluring, mysterious way to kind of get these characters kind of more connected, but also see their mindset of like, especially Scott's character, like the intrigue in her. And you know, Cade gave credit to you and the cinematographer for a job you guys shot the scene. I thought it was a really interestingly shot scene. I don't think I've ever seen one like that. Such a seductive but
Yeah.
equally kind of done mysteriously done scene.
Yeah, well, it was important, you know, that's a really important scene, because obviously it is what, you know, a part of her, I mean, a part of it, this kind of like, you know, utilitarian idea that she's got to clean herself, you know, she's got to, I wanted this character that like, although she lived in this place and it's very wild, she's also like cares about the house, you know, she keeps it neat. It's not like this just pit. It's like it's neat and it's tidy, and she and then herself, she's not like stinking. She wants to, you know, she wants to present herself in a certain way. There's even like they have a dinner and she puts some very like rudimentary like makeup on, you know. It's just like so that moment there is obviously very important, because it's like, yeah, there's a part of it which is, you know, utilitarian, but there's also another part of it which is a part of a seduction, you know, which a very like slow and subtle seduction that is meant for Scott. And also there was, you know, some direction that I gave to Scott was just like kind of like, I felt like, I think it was written in the script actually, was just like that he, you know, the way he looks at her, he almost looks at her too long, you know. It's just like, you know, it's like he shouldn't be looking at her so much. But he's just like, yeah,
So
it's
many elements come to play in that scene. It's amazing. You can look at it 5 different ways. I feel like, you know, perspective wise and what's going on and what could be going on. There's a lot of sort of questions and answers being
Yeah,
given
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah,
I just thought that was really well done and just something I haven't seen before.
yeah.
As I
Great.
wrap up, I'm curious. The ending is so intriguing. I'm not going to give it away because I think it kind of leaves you like
Yeah.
in shock in a sense. Did you ever have any other endings in mind, or just you came in with one way you wanted to end the story, and the way you did it in a sense? Because I thought it was
That's
it leaves you with something.
that's a very interesting question because that was the ending I wrote in my first draft.
Hmm.
And then about maybe, I don't know whether it's the second draft. It could even be the second draft. I was just like, I got to change the ending. This is too bleak, and I need to change it. So I changed it and wrote this whole big ending, and very different ending that you'll see that I wrote. And really, it was about maybe about a week into shooting. We were behind schedule by maybe like 2 days or something behind schedule, and the ending that I had written was very elaborate and had a lot of stunt work. It had a lot of like, you know, fight coordination and post-production and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, we are never going to do this. It's just not going to happen. So I had to sit there and think about how I'm going to change this to make it work, to make it achievable within our time frame. And I just was just like thinking about it. I was just like, maybe I should go back to the original ending that I wrote, you know. And as soon as I committed to that, I immediately felt like 100% like that is exactly what, I don't know what I was thinking of going down this other road. That was totally wrong. You know, this is what it should be, what it should always have been. And so yeah, you go, you know, as in film, you go in these, take these like little journeys off, and then you come back and, you know, get on the right path in the end.
It worked. I loved it. Like I said, one of the most chilling movies I've ever seen, and just
Great.
super intriguing. Awesome work. I cannot wait what's next for you.
Thank
I'll
you.
be on the lookout for sure, but really, really fun, imaginative stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Barney.
Good
Appreciate
day.
it.
Have a good
Thanks
day.
for your time. You too.